in the penthouse, 20th floor. Most of the stuff up in this area is all high voltage, apart from the local power, which is 120 volt. This is your main distribution panel for this area. Feeds the ERVs, feeds all your big pumps and your chillers. So these are the large loads that come out of here. Also feeds over into SSP panel. Again, another high voltage panel, which is feeding all of your plant equipment in this area.
Everything's labeled, and that's the final label we'll have there?
No, there'll be a circuit chart in there. Okay. So this little transformer was taken off the high voltage side, so we could step it down to 120 volts, so we could have a couple of outlets around here. Feed the, I think this is the water monitoring system we put it in for, and this is so basically that transformer there feeds this switch, feeds that outlet, and then feeds that outlet.
Which is the master mixing valve?
That's it, the mixing valve, yeah.
So that has standby power? That
has standby power. This is panel LR, one of the existing panels that's been left in on the project. This basically does the low voltage stuff in this area, so the 120 volt stuff, 120 lighting, 120 volt power in this area, all comes out of this, so no high voltage stuff comes out of this at all. It's just all pure low voltage. Stand in front of the BDA system, which is a bi-directional antenna, which when the fire department come into the building, their radios just automatically go onto that frequency, so they can talk to each other throughout the building and don't get any signal blocks. You see the white wire running out down the bottom. That runs from there all the way down to the basement. And then in the basement, laterally, you've got 2 lateral wires in the basement, 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor, and 1 on the third floor. And that's it. So they just run laterally there, and then the rest of the system. So this actual cable is an antenna. It's just radiating all the time. So the cable actually acts as the antenna all the way through the building. That's basically what it does. So this is 19th floor utility closet. We've got 2 panels in here. We've got L19 and H19. Low voltage panel 12208. High voltage panel 277480. There's not a huge amount come out of this. We've got some AC equipment. This is mainly plant coming out of here, and then which has some lights and exhaust fans coming out of here, which are up in the penthouse. Not a huge amount of circuits being used in either of these panels. Okay, we're on the 14th floor now. This is the emergency panel for the 14th floor. Fed from emergency power down in the basement, so backed up by the generator. This is a low voltage panel, so it's going to do your general lighting and power. It does the fire alarm supplies that we've got in the fire alarm closets for the NAC circuits and the door openers. And it does 50% of the corridor lighting on every floor. Probably the most important thing to remember, circuits coming out of this panel, if you get a problem with them, circuits run vertically in this building. Nothing goes horizontal, so if you find a light out on one floor, you can probably guarantee that the lights above it or below it are going to be out as well. This panel feeds circuits from the 10th floor going through to the 19th. So the laundry rooms on 9, 13 and 17 have a dryer booster fan set up for each dryer, just to help with the extract of the hot air. So you've got 3 fans, 3 dryers, 1 per dryer. They actually operate as soon as the dryer sees any load, so they are worked via a current transformer. So as soon as the dryer runs, the associated fan will run with that dryer. This is typical on floors 9, 13 and 17. We're in the 13th floor utility closet. Again, we've got a low voltage panel and a high voltage panel. High voltage panel's pretty empty. It feeds up to H19 out of this panel, so that's the circuit breaker which feeds up to H19. Low voltage panel, which does corridor lighting, corridor outlets, the lights in here, and just general lighting and power in the corridors. Again, circuits run vertically out of this panel as well. So if something's out on one floor, it's going to be out on the floor above and below, and typically it's from the 10th floor through to the 19th floor that this panel serves. Okay, so now we're on the 6th floor, and again, utility closet, panel H6, high voltage panel L6, low voltage. High voltage panel has got very little coming out of it. I don't think this has actually got anything left in it now. I think this one's completely empty, so that's all spare. This general lighting and power, again 12208, does lighting and power out in the corridors and the elevator lobbies. Again, typical of the 13th floor, everything runs vertically with the outgoing circuits. Okay. 3rd floor distribution closet. Just got the one panel in there, it's a distribution panel, so it's high voltage. So basically we've got H6 and H13, the feeders for those two panels come out there. So basically this is all this does. It's just those three panels, 6, 13 and 19.
Okay.
Right, okay, this is obviously the main distribution point of the building. Vaults over there, no uncertain circumstances anybody enter the vault at any time without the regular people there now.
N-Star, yeah.
N-Star, and they're the only ones that have to go in there. They will let you go in there as long as you have cleared it with them and they've turned everything off. So on this side of this panel, this is the main circuit breaker. This is a little bit of a strange piece of kit that if this ever does go out, then it has to be primed before it will go back in. Pull the handle out, pump it up and down, push the green button, it goes in. It'll always be sitting on closed and stored energy is discharged, but it's not storing anything. Okay? So if that ever goes out, it's kind of like probably not something that you want to do yourself. No. It's probably a Tommy thing, getting involved, because it has to be primed and then put back on. And then from here, bottom circuit breaker, 750 kVA transformer, that feeds to the panel on the 2nd floor, which is the new panel that was installed by us, panel SDSB. So that shuts down the transformer, which shuts down that panel, which then feeds 90% of the units, doesn't feed them all, and it feeds panel L2, and it feeds panel L6 and L13. Now, panel L2, it also feeds down into panel G, which is located in the switch room in there, in the electric room in there. Panel L1, this is the main switch for panel L1, main circuit breaker, that feeds up to the back of CHA's office, and that will isolate that one. DP3 is on the 3rd floor utility closet. That's only got 2 circuits coming out of it. That's just been put in for 2 circuits only. We'll go up there and we'll have a look when we get up there. And then the cogen unit. Cogen is located up in the penthouse. It's the regeneration unit. But on the regeneration side, I don't really know much of it. It's obviously it's a PJ Kennedy thing. I think he probably went through that on his demonstration. But we've got an isolation point here. There is an isolation point out by the fire command centre as well.
It's a shunt trip.
This is a trip.
Yeah.
The one out in the fire command centre is just an isolator. So basically, if the fire department come,
yeah,
they can turn that disconnect off, and they know that there's no power coming back down from the cogen unit.
Yep.
So it can't be backfed anywhere. So it kind of like pretty much sums up this little area. This was existing to there. We bolted this extra piece on to take out our additional load, as it were, when we redone the system.
Yep.
That's pretty much all we've got here. Right, generator set, which does a self-test every Tuesday morning for around about an hour. I think it's about 9:30 to 10:30 or 9 till 10. Main switch this is the 2-hour fire rated section of the basement electric room. So this wall's been put up during this period to be 2-hour protected, because this is where all of our emergency power is, which is off of the ATS switches, which will be backed up by the generator when the generator kicks on. So on the left hand side we've got the 480 277 volt panel. This does the elevators, it does the transformer here, which feeds up to our low voltage panel. So this is emergency power. So this ends up doing panel E6, which is on the 6th floor, and panel E14, which is on the 14th floor, which does a lot of the corridor lights. It does the fire alarm NAC panels, which are located in the closets, and also does the emergency power for the doors that go into the new laundries and the new lounges. Again, as you can see down there, this is the changeover switch. This is the ATS, automatic transfer switch. So as soon as that sees any loss in power, that will start the generator. If there's any additional circuits put in this building, kind of like you really have to pay attention to where the emergency panels are to make sure you're not taking anything out of an emergency panel, linking onto an emergency system, because these have been designed just to do what they need to do, and they're kind of like, I think they're pretty much at their limit now. Okay, all right. Still in the basement electric room, just general panels. We've got to still take some stuff out as it was locked out from the construction process. The C panels are marked up. This is LG, which is like, the G is obviously for ground, but the L is for basically low voltage. This is HG, G is for ground, the H is for high voltage. This is 12208, this is general power, lights and receptacles. This is big power, this is through phase 480 277. So this will be for your pumps and motors and everything in your mechanical rooms. But just pretty standard distribution panels, nothing special about them. When the power goes out, these will come out. Still in the basement, another electric room. This is you'd probably describe it as the high voltage electric room. So all of this is all existing. This is all 480 277 stuff. This is no longer in use. This used to do the old heating in every apartment. That was the main circuit breaker for it. So that is now redundant. This has always been a spare. This is the only piece here that is actually in use at this present time. Got a hot water panel that's in the penthouse. Panel HG is where we've just come from. We see them labelled up. ATS2. So this is the 480 supply that feeds the ATS, the automatic transfer switch, and then obviously over to the generator, and then back from the generator to ATS2. So standby power. Got panel H1, which is located on the first floor, which we'll see as we go up. Panel H2, this is located on the second floor, and we'll see that as we go up as well. Again, all 480 277. ATS1 EP, emergency power. Again, 480 277 to the transfer switch, out to the generator, and then back again when any power goes out. That's all you need to worry about down in this section.
For your own notes?
Yeah.
Feel free to mark it up.
These,
What room we're in?
we are in the basement electric room. We just call it the electric room. It's changed a bit. A lot of stuff's been moved out there and got rid of and put in our new panels. Switches on the wall, these are redundant. We're going to mark them up that they are spares. This little setup that we've got in the corner at the moment, so this feeds out to the generator. So basically this set of wires here, MICC cable, these feed the ATS switches. Use this kind of cable because it's 2-hour fire rated. It's full of powder, when the powder gets to a certain temperature, it turns to ceramic, which then protects the core inside it, so that's what makes it last for 2 hours. This set, go over to the ATS switch. This set, very important set, go to the fire pump. So these keep your fire pump running in the event of a fire. This can is just mainly a connection point, goes out to the generator from this can. But this is the 2-hour fire rated section of the generator system. Over here, this main switch, basically, or main disconnect, sorry, feeds this transformer. This transformer then feeds this switch. This switch then feeds the new SDSB panel, which is located on the second floor, which all of your tenant units, or not all of the tenant units, most of the tenant units come out of. It's pretty much all we've got left in here now. A lot of it come out during the construction process. So this is panel SDSB fed out of the basement where we've just come from. The big switch right by the door. So this feeds 90% of all the tenant units. So as you can see, they're in stacks, and they're labelled as stack 6, stacks 8, stack 7, and so on. So I think we all know where the stacks start and finish on the layout of the building. Odds on one side, evens on the others. They go from 3 to 11 and 12 to 19. The only one that's slightly different is stack 7, because you've got the 2-bedroom units in stack 7, so it's kind of like a little bit of a, you've not got them on every floor, whereas everything else you've got on every floor. Also coming out of this panel, you've got panel L2, where we've just come from. That's fed out of here, so if you lose anything, if you lose the entire panel on L2, that's out of this one. We've got panel L6. Panel L6 is on the 6th floor utility closet, and that is fed out of here. That also feeds onto panel L13 as well, so that both of those panels are actually out of here, but 13 is a sub panel of 6, we'll get to that when we get up there. But again, this does all of your tenant space, all your tenant units. So if you ever lose an entire stack, you know you need to come down here. Probably one good note about these circuit breakers, you may walk in here and think, oh, that's not tripped, but they don't go all the way back. They're kind of like they sit in a mid position. So what you have to do is you have to pull them off and then push them back on again. So sometimes, like, you know, a quick glance, you may think, oh, it's not tripped out, but it actually has. Telltale sign is if you grab it like this, it'll kind of like move backwards and forwards a lot more than that is now. Right, we are now up on the first floor in CHA's office. In here we just got 2 general local circuit panels. Here we see H1, we've seen the main circuit breaker for that downstairs. So this is high voltage panel, 480-277. So we find this does the air handling units, exhaust fans, VFDs for the drives for the bigger motors we've got, and what else does it do? It does the FCUs as well, so the fan cool units. So it does the heating as well in the throughout the office. And on this side we've got L1 low voltage panel 12208. So this is your general lighting, general power circuits, and they all come out of here. This is the little bit of a anomaly we've got with the power for the units, for the tenant units. So the second floor units are fed out of this panel. Stack 12 floors 3 to 11 are out of this panel, and stack 10 3 to 11 are out of this panel. So they're the only units that are fed from here. Everything else is fed from the second floor, and it goes up from there. So always kind of like if you have lost power and you can't find it on the second floor in your tenant units, you're going to find it down here. So it's kind of like something to keep in mind if you're running all over the building wondering why the power's gone out. This is another general distribution panel, 12208. So again, general lighting, general power. Kind of like the section that this panel does is from the entry doors to the CHA office doors. So anything in this panel is kind of like compressed in this area really. There are a few circuits that kind of like go out of there, but it's actually broken down in sections. Some outside lighting circuits which we've got locked out at the moment. This is panel L1A, so this is a sub-panel of L1. So the feed from this comes from panel L1 where we've just come from. So if this panel goes down, that's your first place that you go and look. It's down at L1. This is a sub-panel of L1. So this is pretty much all it does. So again, another distribution panel. This is L1B. So again, this is another sub-panel of L1. So again, if this panel goes down, CHA's office L1, that's where this feed will be. There's a circuit breaker in there for that. This again, 12208, general lighting and power. And again, it's kind of like sectioned off. This panel does all this community space, does not do the kitchen. The kitchen's on its own system over there. Lighting and power. This also does, this is a important one for the CHA crew that are with us today, it actually does your new break room. So if you can't boil the kettle to make your tea,
nice.
You know where to come and find it.
Man, I love my tea.
We've got a couple of circuits locked out again, which are the sign lights and some external lights. So that obviously once you get them, they'll go. So again, just general lighting and power, just mainly contained in the area that we're standing in. It also does these offices as well. So you just need to be a little bit careful of if you are turning circuits off, that you may interrupt the power in these offices as well. Right, so we're still on the ground floor. We're now in the community kitchen area. This panel just does the kitchen, so it just does basically what you can see in this area. It does fridges, freezers, does the gas. We've got a mealing system in here which shuts down the range hood. All very technical stuff. The two that are locked out, this is the heat trace at the moment. This is we're still working on this. So this is the grease traps. So if you're clogging up with grease, then come and check these two little babies here, because this is where you'll find where the problems will be. This is fed from panel inch 1, which is over located in CHA's office. So this is a sub panel from that panel over there. So if this ever goes out, that's the first place you go and look at your CHA's office. So you can pretty much say this entire first floor is the panels off the first floor are all sub panels from the panels that are in CHA's office. So first place to look in any kind of like big power. So the heat trace is basically a heating cable which we just put power on the end of, and it kind of just warms up. Doesn't get particularly hot, but we're using it. It's usually used to stop pipes from freezing, but in this application we're using it to keep the flow of grease. So if any grease goes down the sink traps, just to keep that moving, so it washes away and doesn't clog anything up. So it's attached to the pipes underneath here, and then goes behind this wall, and it's actually attached to all the pipes behind the wall as well, and then goes down into the basement dumpster area. There's also another section which is going to get heat trace, which is right by the main panel where we first started. There's a section of pipe up there, probably about 10 feet long. Again, is the waste for this sink over there, so that will get heat trace as well again, and it's just to keep the flow of grease from going. It's very, very maintenance free. You kind of like just switch it on and let it run, and it will just last forever. So we're up on the second floor now. Two panels for this area. This is L2. This is fed from panel SDSB, which we're going to go to very shortly. This low voltage panel again, 12208, general lighting and power and miscellaneous stuff. This one also does do the dryers and the washers, the floor laundry. And it does some, got some small exhaust fans that it does as well, that are only 12208. This is the high voltage panel, this is 480-277 again. This is H2, this is fed from the old custodian's area downstairs, the old panel that we just looked at. This does the lounges and the laundry fan core units all the way up from the third floor right the way up to floor 19. Also does your heating on stair A and stair B. That all comes out of here as well. And it also does, this is probably the strangest thing you're going to find here, it does the vestibule and the kitchen heaters downstairs. So the rear vestibule on the first floor, and in the kitchen janitor's closet, the heater in each of those, it does those heats as well. So if you can't find where they are, come up here. That's pretty much all this one does.